Drafting worldwide, wide. So I'm just going to play around with the view settings a little bit and come back to the video with the correct view settings to get the look that we want to see. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change this from foundation, which is kind of a misnomer. I'm going to say T period foundation. So top of foundation, yes, I'd like to change the corresponding views. And then I'm going to go to my top of footing one, and I'm going to call this foundation instead. And I do not want to change the corresponding views, because in these I want it to remain top of footing, and I want that to say top of foundation. So if I would have said yes, this would now be called foundation. So I go back to my foundation one, and now I can play around with our view range. So I have nothing selected, and I come in here to my, first of all, I have no underlay. Come in here to my view properties, and I'm looking for view range. A small screen to work with here, and one more time, view range, edit. So this pops up, and my foundation is down low, so I only want to come up about a foot off of, we'll say 2 feet off there, and we'll make this cut line 2 feet as well. I'll say apply, and now you can see I have that foundation showing on there. And I will come back in here to show the footing and make some modifications to this in a little bit. So now I have the foundation showing how I want it to show, but I can't see my floor plan to work off of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to my view settings again, and I'm going to turn my underlay on temporarily of my, let's try top foundation, no, let's try first floor. And I don't want that because it's showing the roof. So let's try top foundation and unbounded, maybe? I don't want any of these, really. And I'm just going to say look up. And now I have to deal with this roof for the underlay, but should be good enough to be able to use this to lay out my floor plan. Alright, so I'm going to come back up here to wall. I'm going to choose my foundation wall. I'm going to make sure it's going from the top of the footing up to top of foundation. And I'm going to choose this out here. I'll bump the scale back up again so I can actually see something. Turn my detail level on. Nothing's showing up. And I'm just going to try to go around this outside and see how it looks. Doesn't look right. I picked a wall. I'll go up there and do that. And one thing I can do to make this a little bit easier on myself, it gets a little bit more difficult whenever you have more than 4 sides, but I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to cut a section through this. Do it this way. I'll double click on that. I'm going to look at this section, and I know this is lined up perfectly, so I'm going to use my align tool, and I'm going to align to the face of the core and align that. I'm going to lock that in place. I could also go back in and do this. Let's use the align tool again. Align that and that. Align that and that. And lock that in place. And then I'll go on to the next section. I'm going to cut another section here. Like that. Double click it. Take a look at it. And I picked a location with a door, so I'm going to basically go back out here and move that section over here so I don't have to look at that door. And once again, I'll use my align tool. So I'll choose that and align that, lock it, click this, bring it down, use my align tool, align that to that, align that to that, lock that, and now I have 3 sides for sure. Go back to my foundation view, do one more section on the last side. Same procedure, double click it, zoom in here, click on the wall to activate my modify tools, choose align, select the face of the core, select that, lock it, click that, let's see, click this, and now I don't know what the distance is because I can't see the others in the background. I have nothing to align it to, so I'll have to come back in and adjust that. So I'm just going to align that to that, and finally go back to my foundation plan, and I can delete. First of all, I'm going to fillet, use fillet to join all these walls together in the corner. Not sure why I got that constraint error. Got another one, so I'm going to remove those constraints. Might have something to do with those edges at the bottom lining up differently. So just double check, make sure that's still good. Double check this one and look at that. Looks good. The other thing that I can do whenever I actually dimension this, these dimensions should be the same as my stud wall dimensions from the first floor. So that still looks good. And I'll just very quickly change my scale back to 1/4 and throw some dimensions in here. Annotate line, and I want to dimension the face of core, so I choose that, and I end up with 40 feet. Dimension to the face of the core, and I end up with 30 feet, so everything's looking good. And at this point I can come in and turn off my underlay so I don't see it anymore. And right now this is the start of an actual foundation plan. So in the next video we'll go through and we'll add the footing, make it look good, and then add this to a sheet of its own.